Hi, so this is a video to go over your life cycle assessment for ENV 430 and specifically on how to redesign a product for sustainability. And what this video really looks at is your quantitative assessment homework number 3. And so describe 2 solid strategies you think would lower your product's impact. And this specifically looks at the quantitative aspect of that. So to do that, we go through kind of some of the previous videos. We take apart our product, determine our inventory. And so then we measure and quantify as much of that product as possible. This comes from the inventory video that was done before. So all of these aspects are within my product. So how do we actually redesign? Basically, you look at each of these aspects, and very similar to someone who has to make that product in a factory, look at what can be replaced. And so can you replace each part with a more sustainable part? Can you decrease the waste? Can I lower the amount of paper within here? That would be more sustainable. One aspect that really kind of comes up specifically with this product is ease of disassembly. So if you are so lucky as to take apart a K-cup, it's not easy. And so even if I was inclined to compost the organic parts of this product, I'm not sure I'm going to take a knife to each K-cup that I use and pull out the compostable parts. And so ease of disassembly would certainly really increase the sustainability aspects of this product and increase the likelihood that people would actually do that. So basically, if I could increase the ease of disassembly, I could highlight the fact that we could compost all of the compostable parts of this. And by weight, that's actually a huge component of the product itself. And so the coffee by itself is 17 grams, dry weight, or 3.5 tablespoons. So if it was easier to disassemble, I could really put some initiatives in my product to increase my customers' composting habits, and also increase the likelihood that they would recycle or waste the rest. However, I would kind of incentivize within that. So to do this, if I could increase the ease of disassembly, I could basically calculate how much weight or change in the product I would propose. And so compostable aspects of this product include the weight of the coffee plus the filter. Again, I could look at per unit box of pods that I have. By multiplying those through, I would get about 432 grams removed from the waste stream per 24 pack, which seems like a pretty good amount. Changing that to pounds of coffee, that's about almost a full pound of coffee removed per 24 pack. So that would actually be pretty significant if I could do that. Another thing to think about is that you can compare the amount that you would reduce to the total weight of the product itself. And so because the coffee and the filter, especially when they're wet, comprise a large volume and a large percentage of the weight, you could reduce the waste by upwards of 90%, which certainly is significant. Sounds really good if you're trying to sell a product as more sustainable than your competitors. So another aspect we could think about is the polypropylene plastic. So if I did really push the ease of disassembly aspect for sustainability, I could actually increase the likelihood that this plastic by itself would be recycled or compostable. And so in a previous video, I talked about the energy that it would take to make polypropylene plastic if we focused on recycled, 100% recycled polypropylene versus virgin polypropylene. So I'm not going to go into that right now, but I'm going to take the full idea and say I'm going to make it completely out of bioplastic. So bioplastic is a plastic-like product completely made out of compostable materials. Usually it's sugarcane or corn, and if I make my plastic completely compostable, that would completely reduce plastic from the product itself. And so if I did that, I could take out the polypropylene plastic and buy each 24 pod and remove about a total of 24 grams of plastic from the waste stream. Another thing to kind of note though is that right now bioplastic may take more energy to produce. So basically it might change pretty quickly, but just keep that in mind. It might not be the fully sustainable way to redesign your product, but it might be, if waste streams are really important in your design strategy, this would be a good way to do it. So I could also measure the area of plastic too, depending on what type of aspect you're really looking at for your product. And so with this, I literally just took a ruler and measured the area of my plastic. So another aspect you could look at is, so we dealt with the coffee, we looked at the plastic. Now it's time we could look at the aluminum foil. And so with this, we have 50.5 millimeter diameter aluminum foil. Looking at the area equation, it's pi times diameter divided by 2 squared. And so going through the math, here we'll have about, cross off like units, we'll have about 20 centimeters squared of aluminum foil. And so if I decided to go with, replace the foil with paper or cardboard cap, this would be completely compostable. And if I did that, I would remove about 480 square centimeters of foil waste per 24 pack. And so the big one here is you'd have to certainly do a lot more research to figure out whether the cardboard itself or the paper cap could keep your product as fresh as you would like, but certainly a good strategy for this project. So how to redesign for sustainability, and answer number 3. These could be certainly some of my top strategies. Easier to disassemble. This would be my first one that I would certainly prioritize. You can't really change how you would recycle it or compost it if certainly customers or anyone else, if it's hard to disassemble. So my next big strategy would be to compost the filter in the coffee itself, to replace the plastic with bioplastic potentially, to replace the foil with paper or cardboard. And as I talked about in one of the previous videos, we could commit to 100% recycled plastic when in the manufacture of the pods. And if we did that using the source from a previous video, you could save as much as 0.024 megajoules per pod. So again, this might be a broad estimate based on some of the estimates that we're making, but gets us in the ballpark. And so for number 3, these are some of the quantification ways, or ways that we could quantify these sustainability strategies on our poster. And you can certainly imagine that if these strategies were incorporated by a company, these could go directly onto new marketing materials to say, hey, we are being much more sustainable. And so we could take down our foil waste, we could remove a large amount of plastic from the waste stream, area-wise, gram-wise. We could compost a huge amount of our product in pounds of coffee and reduce the waste by over 90% if we instituted these strategies right away.